Equality of regions or geopolitical zones. Section 4. Whether regions or states become the federating units and whether or not equal numbers of states are created in each zone, Ndigbo demand that the equality of the 6 geopolitical zones should be enshrined in the Constitution. Politically, representation at the federal cabinet, as well as the twin chambers of the federal legislature, shall be based on equality of zones or regions. Furthermore, sharing of revenues, distribution of infrastructure by the federal government, and federal character principle shall be applied on the basis of equality of zones. Section 5, Citizenship, Indigent Shipwrights. Nigerian citizenship is acquired through the criteria for citizenship as provided in the Nigerian Constitution. The concept of the state of origin should be scrapped from the Constitution of the Federation and replaced with the state of residence. As an alternative to the above, if you don't scrap it, the state of origin, we then demand the following residency and civic rights responsibilities to include 2 conditions. Number 1, any child born of Nigerian parents anywhere in Nigeria shall acquire the indigentship residency rights of the area at birth. Number 2, similarly, any Nigerian citizen who has resided in any part of Nigeria and paid taxes there for a period of 10 years shall acquire the indigentship or residency rights of the area, except for the right to their traditional stool. Internal security, section 6. There shall be established a 2- or 3-tier police structure with defined responsibilities as follows. A police force for the federation and controlled by the federal government and the regional or state constitutions to establish separate police forces for each region and maybe state. The police force at every level shall be headed by a non-partisan professional. The appointment and removal of such a head of the police shall be vested in an independent body. 7. Sharing of financial resources of fiscal federalism. We argue that section 162 of the 1999 Constitution is a negation of the principle of federalism. It should be abrogated. In its place, a truly federal system that gives control of the resources to the competent component units and replaces the current system of unconditional transfers with conditional transfers from the center as follows. 1. We Ndigbo of the opinion that states should have control over all their natural resources within their territory. Fiscal federalism presupposes the revocation of the Land Use Act of 1978, the Solid Minerals Act, as well as the various Petroleum Gas Acts and amendments since 1969. The right of ownership, control, and exploitation of these and other assets should be returned to the states and or the federating units. The taxation powers of the various tiers of government should be reviewed to give the federating units greater flexibility and scope to generate revenue internally. And states within the federating units should collect and keep 50% of the rents, royalties, and profits taxes on mineral derived from their states. Pay 20% to the regional government and 30% to the federal government, provided that each tier of government shall save at least 5% of the receipts from natural mineral resources as future generation fund. The federal government should set aside 40% of revenue collected from the states or regions as distributable pool account. The balance of 60% plus 60% of its own independent revenue, such as customs duty, federal VAT, federal income tax, etc., shall be deployed to its diminished responsibilities. The sharing of the DPA should be equitable and should replace the present unconditional revenue allocation to the states and local governments. Among other things, the distributable pool account will be deployed to treat all kinds of emergencies, including flood, natural environmental emergencies like flood, erosion, earthquakes, conflict, man-made disaster, desert encroachment, and so on. And the distributable capital account will be distributed mainly as matching grants, no longer the unconditional handout from Abuja. so that each region can then strive as before to be able to develop on a competitive basis. The states within each region shall collectively decide what percentage of their consolidated revenue they shall allocate to the regional government for its operations, provided that such contributions shall not be less than 10% of the respective state's revenue. Section 8, and we'll wrap up, merit and federal character principle. Nigeria must maintain an appropriate balance between merit and affirmative action in the conduct of national and regional state affairs and the distribution of appointment, amenities, opportunities, and privileges among constituent parts. For example, while 60% should be reserved to merit, 40% could be reserved to ensure federal character principle or affirmative action. We recommend that the Federal Character Commission be replaced with Merit and Equal Opportunities Commission. And the next is elections. That's section 9 and 10, which ends in 10. Elections into the office of the President and Federal Legislature shall be conducted by the electoral body of the federal government. Elections into the regional or state offices shall be conducted by electoral or bodies set up by the regional or state constitutions or laws. It is believed that the current system of simple plurality system with simple relative majority as winner encourages minority governments and is considered out of date. We hereby propose a majoritarian system whereby a winner must score at least 50% of the votes cast to win an election. Independent candidates serve as a form of protest to political parties and should be allowed in the electoral system provided that such candidates meet some minimum criteria to be on the ballot. Section 10 is on judiciary. We argue that each federating unit shall have its judicial system with courts of first instance, appellate court, and supreme courts to adjudicate on matters that are in the concurrent and residual list, as well as matters exclusively preserved for the federating units. Where the states are the federating units, there shall be state high courts and zonal or regional court of appeal and zonal or regional supreme court on matters pertaining to the states and the zones respectively. It is the states or regional courts and their appellate courts that will have jurisdiction over electoral matters in their respective states or regions, except matters pertaining to the presidential election or federal elections. There shall also be the Federal High Court, Federal Appeal Court, and Federal Supreme Court to deal with matters on the exclusive list of the Constitution, as well as constitutional matters or conflicts between the federating units and the federal government. The next, we end with an annex. The Ndigbo proposed an annex, and this annex deals with the devolution of powers between the various tiers of government. Between the center, what should be in the exclusive list, and what should be in the concurrent list. But a major change which Ndigbo proposed is that, unlike in the current 1999 Constitution, the items on the concurrent list will no longer have the federal government having the overriding power. It is the case that federal government should, in fact, legislate mostly to maintain national minimum standards on items on the concurrent list, and leave the regions and the states to legislate on operational matters and determine how their region or states should go. Where there is a conflict between the states and or the federating units and the federal government, it is proposed that such conflicts should be resolved through mutual consent. Ladies and gentlemen, what I have presented so far, that's the end, the annex, and this particular document, if approved by this summit, we're going to have it signed by the appropriate authorities or the representatives of the various contingent states, traditional rulers, and major segments of the Igbo society, and circulated to everybody. We're just putting this as an agenda for deliberation. But then, in conclusion, and I just said this conclusion as a personal note, ladies and gentlemen, philosophers have interpreted the world. The problem is to change it. I think let us get it done. Everybody seems to agree that we need to restructure Nigeria. PDP, APC, you dominate the National Assembly, and as we have proposed, give us a law tomorrow, impanel a constituent assembly, let them get to work. Even for the APC, you have recommended 3 key areas. You control 24 states of Nigeria plus the federal government. If you are serious about restructuring Nigeria, as you have said, get to work, and within the next 3 months, at least you have proposed that mineral resources should go to the states. That's a proposal they have there, that mineral resources should be given back to the states. You propose a state police, and you have also proposed that, I think that is one other major, that we should scrap the local governments from the Constitution and leave the issue of the local government to be within the purview of the states. At least, even if we don't make progress on anything, let us set a deadline that within the next 3 months, 24 states and the federal government in the hands of one political party give us restructuring before the next election. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the submission of Ndigbo, and I've added this, and let us go. The next is for you to debate, and if you approve this, it will then be circulated all over the world. And thank you very much, and God bless you, and bless all the delegates and our visitors. Thank you.
Yeah.